Welcome to the Beyond Barriers podcast. If you're an ambitious woman who wants to dominate your career, then you are in the right place. This podcast is co-hosted by Nikki Barua, digital innovator, serial entrepreneur, author, and speaker, and Monica Marquez, ex-Googler, diversity expert, and senior corporate leader. From inspiring stories to cutting-edge strategies, you'll learn how to develop the skill set, mindset, and tool set to get future-ready fast and accelerate your success. Welcome to the Beyond Barriers Habits and Hacks Show. Today's topic is all about planning. And the big question is, to plan or not to plan?
That is a great question because 92% of people set goals or make New Year's resolutions and never achieve them. And a lot of it has to do with planning. But I'm a planner. So I love planning.
Well, I'm not a planner. I don't think I've ever really mastered the art of planning.
So let's dig into that in this episode. So
Yes.
Monica is not a planner and Nikki is a huge planner.
Yes.
So the question is, how did we both achieve success with two different strategies? So Monica, I'm curious about your approach. So you say you're not a planner, but do you set goals?
Yeah, I do. I definitely set goals. Yes.
Okay. So let's say you set a goal. What do you do after that? What do you do with that goal?
Well, I mean, I do think about what are the steps I need to take in order to achieve that goal and start.
Do you just think about that in your head?
I think about it in my head. I will write it down or make notes or grab Post-its and, okay, what do I need to do to get started? That's I think where my mindset in my head goes right away.
Okay. So you have a goal and then you break it down into a whole bunch of steps that you need to take. And sometimes you'll use Post-its and you write it down.
Or I'll use a notebook.
Or a notebook and you write it down. And then once you have that list, what do you do?
I mean, I usually just get started. I look at the list and say, okay, where does it make sense for me to start? And then I have a bias towards action. That's usually what I just want to get started on it.
So as soon as you have that list, you just start doing it. But do you think about when you should do it, like a due date or like a rough estimate of?
Rough estimate. If someone presses me for a deadline or a due date, I'll put one out there or I'll ask them, well, when do you want this by? And, sometimes, I will say, okay, yeah. Or, I'll try to get it done by then, but it's a rough date. I'll think of dates or when I want to get it done. But I don't make a plan. So, I mean, it's one of those things that you and I always, have friction about, where you'll say, get this done by Friday. And I'm like, okay, it'll get done by Friday. And I'll start on it on Thursday so that I can get it done on Friday. So it's things like that.
Right. So, but what I'm hearing you say is you absolutely set goals.
Yes.
You take that goal and you break it down into a whole bunch of steps.
Yes, tangible
steps to get that down, even though you may put it on a Post-it, but you do break it down.
Yeah, I do.
And then you do have a sense of when you need to get it done by. And then you have a bias towards action and you take massive action.
Exactly.
So I hate to break it to you, but that is a plan.
Okay, well, it's a soft plan.
Okay. It may not be a very structured plan, but it is a plan.
Yes. So definitely not structured.
So as much as you'd like to say, I'm not a planner, you really kind of are a planner.
Okay.
You just don't maybe use the right tools or do it in a very structured way. And it's a Post-it here and a Post-it there and a deadline in your head versus a deadline on your calendar. But you use all of the elements of planning. So maybe let's dig into perhaps what are the things that you don't do in all of this planning process.
Yeah.
So first off, when you think about a plan and getting things done, do you explore a whole bunch of different ways to do it?
No, I don't. No, because I want to get it done, and it's kind of a trial and error thing. Like I'll start getting it done. If I hit a roadblock, it's just like, okay, crap, got to pivot, and I'll kind of go from there, and I will figure out a way to get it done. But no, I'm not. I'm not kind of weighing out my options on what I should get done.
So you basically jump into one path.
Yes.
And if it doesn't work out, you try a different path, and then you'll try a different
exactly.
path.
Lots of trial and error.
Okay, so what happens if you're running out of time and the trial and error is causing more error than the right result? What do you do then?
That's where sometimes maybe I will pause for a minute and think about, okay, what's the next best step? So I will probably do some mini session plans or micro or flash planning
basically anything to avoid a real plan.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, when I look at your project plans, they're like beautiful and they're thought out and all this. And I'm like, God, that must have taken hours to do. And I just don't I'm just not as organized in that way. So I just decide to take massive action, which I know, and I've learned from you that yes, if I were to spend 10 minutes planning, I would save myself 10 hours of work. Right. But, I'm like I said, I'm biased towards action. I just want to get it done.
Do you want to grow your impact as a change agent who ignites transformation in others, but you don't have a proven step-by-step method? Do you want to grow your visibility and influence as a thought leader to inspire others, but you don't know where to begin? The Beyond Barriers High Performance Executive Coach Certification is designed for experienced leaders who want to grow their impact and influence. Join this exclusive community of high achievers, advance your career as a leader, and experience the joy of helping others grow. Go to IamBeyondBarriers.com and register for the webinar to learn more.
Yeah, I mean, when you spend time planning up front, it does save you a lot more time later on. Mm-hmm. But that's not because your plan is designed for perfection or the best case scenario. It really is because when you take the time to think about your plan, to explore a bunch of options, understand your constraints, figure out what your deadlines are, or where you can get leverage. Who can you ask for help?
Yes.
Where do you leverage technology or process? All of those things, when you start to think about, here's my goal, and this is the result I want by such and such date. When you plan or when you take the time to think about that, there's a few things that happen. Number one, you spend time anticipating what could go wrong.
Right.
Because that allows you to then plan for your worst case scenario and then say, okay, based on this worst case scenario, what are the various options or paths for me to still achieve the result that I want when I want it? And then based on those options, you can start to weigh in to say, okay, this is the best option. So I'm going to choose, let's say option B to get to my end result based on my worst case scenario. Option B guarantees me more success.
Right.
Now, within that option B, where can I get leverage? Who can I delegate to? What systems can I use? What other tools can I use that will get me that result faster, better, more cost effectively?
Right.
And once you're able to do that, that then essentially gives you so much leverage and frankly creates buffer in your result so that even when things do go wrong, something unexpected happened or something fell apart, or you got sick, you still know you can get to that result.
Yeah.
And when you don't anticipate the worst case scenario and when you don't plan for leverage or for delegation, then essentially you're basing your result on the best case scenario.
Yes.
Only on your skill set.
Right.
Which means the only way you can get to that if something goes wrong is trial and error and sheer willpower.
Yes. And now that you say that, it makes so much more sense. So, and that's probably why I say I'm not a planner, because I'm not doing the anticipation. I'm not thinking about who can I delegate to and doing those types of resource type things. And I find myself in the middle of the project, finally saying, I could probably get so-and-so to do this, but I could have probably saved time by, doing that ahead of time. So I guess
it avoids all of the mad scramble and the frenzy and the anxiety, frankly, when you have a deadline looming and now you have so little time and you're the only one who has that particular skill set and can be fastest to get there.
Yeah.
And now you've just taken on all that load on yourself and there's no one else you can hand off.
And that's exactly it. I think that's where, planning, I understand now, like, it's my willpower, right? And at the end of the day, I fall into that trap of like, holy crap, I don't have enough time. I didn't plan. And now I'm the one, like you said, taking on the burden. And then it's just faster for me to do it than for me to go teach somebody or ask somebody else to do it or hand off to somebody. So, I've learned that, a little bit of planning. I don't do the forward thinking and the anticipation, which I think is really important for you. So I think that's what's missing. I'm missing a lot of the middle things. You have
the goal setting and the action taking.
Yes.
You just need that middle portion of maybe a little bit of anticipation that gives you leverage and allows you to delegate.
And I've been successful in the past because I've, on my teams, I've always, I guess where I have planned or been good at is I've delegated to people who are good planners because I'm not. And so
So you've inspired them to create an amazing plan.
Exactly. So somebody else has done the planning, but then when I find myself now doing things that, requires me to plan, I just never developed that muscle, and I'm continuously learning now to develop that muscle. And sometimes I, get to a point where like, oh, I'll just get started. And then later it's like, oh, I should have planned. Or when you ask to see a project plan and there isn't one, it's like, it's all in my head. I realize, okay, I need to step back and flex that muscle a little bit because I'll end up saving myself some time, but not just time, energy and emotion and anxiety and stress. Like
not just for yourself, it's also what it does to everybody around you on the team that is dependent on you, but has no idea how you're going to get there, even though they trust you and know you're committed and motivated, and that given your talent and your determination, you will get to the end result. It just may not be the prettiest path getting there.
Exactly.
So what are you taking away from this?
Well, one, I learned that I am somewhat of a planner, so I can't really claim that anymore, that I'm not a planner. But I really think it's the most important pieces are the anticipation, the, planning to delegate, and really the options, like weighing out the options before you actually dive in. Because I think that's where you end up wasting the time, because you go too far down a road and then realize, oh, I've got to pivot and I've wasted a lot of time.
So there you have it. So a great plan is anticipating the worst case scenario, not just planning for the best case scenario. It's exploring all of the options, considering what your resources and your constraints and your due dates are, and the fastest, best, most cost-effective way to get there. And finally, gaining leverage, whether it's delegating to someone or using technology, or perhaps in some cases choosing not to do something. So planning allows you to explore all of those things before you take action, so that when you do take action, you're absolutely guaranteed to achieve that result. So if you are making plans for New Year or for the next year, don't just set a New Year resolution and a goal. Follow it up with a plan based on that kind of anticipation and exploration of your options and delegation.
So there you have it, folks. It's better to plan, anticipate, and think about the best course of action, and leverage the power of a great plan. So we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Beyond Barriers podcast. There are thousands of podcasts out there, and we are so grateful that you've chosen to listen to ours. If you enjoyed the show, please tell a friend about it and subscribe to get new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Visit IamBeyondBarriers.com, where you'll find show notes and links to all resources for each show, including the best way to connect with our guests. See you next episode.